So, hello students. I hope everybody is good. In the yesterday's session, we had a good overview of the variables, how we can define a variable, how we can name a variable, what are the rules for naming a variable, how we can check the address of any of the variable. We had a look on the conditional statements, if, else, elif. Also, we saw some basic overview of the list. In today's session, of the we will have an overview of the loops, some more about the list. We'll see how strings and tuples work in Python. Now let's get started. Okay, I hope everybody is able to see my screen. Let's start with the loops. Uh, from the word loop, we understand something that is that has the same start and the same end, like meaning the starting point and the ending point is same here. In programming languages, we see loop as a word to perform a particular task for an n number of times. Coming on to the Python, we too have the loops here to perform a task n number of time. We have two types of loops here: while loop and for loop. So basically, while loop, we call it as a conditional loop since we require a condition to execute it. uh, so let's get started. First, we'll see a while loop. Let's see what is the basic syntax of a while loop. We'll write a keyword while, then we'll have an expression or a condition here. If it will be satisfied, then only the statement under the while block will be executed. Yes, so this is the basic syntax for a while loop. Let's see a basic code, how we'll have a basic overview of how this while syntax is coming into use and how a particular task is performed using it. Let's say if we take a variable count and we assign an initial value 0 to it, and then we write our loop here, we create our loop here, and we write the condition inside it as count is less than 3. Then please raise the value of count is equals to count plus 1. Let's say if we do this task, and under it if we write a print, let's say we write print hello. Let's see what does this do. Since we can see this count value already has a value 0 as initial value, and the condition says here count is less than 3. Yeah, the condition is satisfied here. And hence this while loop is executed and the value of count is increased by 1. When the first time the while loop is executed, the value was 0, and now the count value is increased to 1 and the print word hello is being printed. When the second time loop will be executed, the value of count will be 1, and since this condition is satisfied, the loop statements again will be executed and the count will be increased to 2, and again the print hello will be printed. When the count value now this time becomes 3, and when it will go, the last time the loop will be not executing its statement, since 3 greater than 3 is not a valid statement, it is a false statement, hence this while loop will not be executed. Now we will look how, if we put an else statement inside else statement with the while, what happens? If you use else statement with while in Python, the else clause is only executed when your while condition becomes false. If you break out of the loop or if an exception is raised, it won't be executed. Let's see how this works. We will have now, first we will have a basic syntax of how we can use while with else. We'll write while, then we will have an expression or a condition, you can say. Then we will have some statements under it will be executed if the expressions is true. Now here we will have an else. Else if we say like any statement. Okay. So this is a basic syntax of how we can use else with the while. Now let's use our above code only and we'll see how we can see the difference. Let's see if we have a count. Again, if we initialize it to 0 and we'll write a loop here over. While count is less than 3, count is equal to count plus 1. Let's see if we do this and we write print hello. Now if we define else part here, if we write here let's see what does this output, what does it gives. Okay, so as I said that until unless the condition inside the while block was true, the statements were executing. When this condition becomes false, it comes back to the else part and the print statement we are in the else block is printed. Now let's see another example where we'll see an overview of the infinite loop in the while loop. If we write while count is less than 3, we'll raise the value of count variable by 1. If we print hello here again, okay, this was a code initially, but now if we write here count value, if we have the condition if count value is equal to 0, means if we say if the value of count is 0, then execute this loop. As we have already told, it already has the initial value 0, and if we execute this, it will run infinite number of times. Sorry, we have to remove this statement. Very sorry, yeah. Okay. So if you run this statement, it will be executed like infinite number of times. Also, students note, it is not suggested to use this type of loop as it is never ending infinite loop. Where the condition is always true, as we can see count always equal to 0. It already has initial value 0 and it is also giving the state condition as 0. If it is 0, please print hello. It will always be executed. So where the condition is always true and you have to forcefully terminate the compiler, since it is not advisable to use such type of looping conditions. Now we will see how the for loops work in Python. we in the starting we got to know that there are two types of loops in Python. First one is while loop and the other one is for loop. So we had an overview of the while loop. Now we'll see how the for loops work in Python. So basically for loops in Python are used for sequential traversal. For example, we used as like for using for traversing a list, array or string. Now let's see syntax. We'll write a keyword for, then we'll write an iterable variable. It can be anything as I, J, A, B, C, D, anything, but you need to remember that it is an iterable variable. Okay, and then we can write some of the statements that will be executed. Okay, so this is basically a basic syntax for using a for loop inside your code. Let's see how we can see the working of a loop using a simple example. If we have a variable n and we assign a value 4 to it initially, then we create our for loop for I in range. Remember, range is a function. I will let you know what exactly the function of a range function is, or what does the range function do here. Okay, we write print I, suppose. Okay, so this is a very small block of code where we'll be understanding the basic working of a for loop. So here we take a variable n which has initially value 4. Here for is a keyword, I is an iterable variable that will keep changing its value. In is again a keyword, and range is a function such that the range will keep assigning one value to I from 0 to n, meaning it will have value. This range function will give the value as then we can say I can have a value is equal to 0. It can have, since it's starting from 0, we can have, it will keep increasing by 1. It will have 1, then it will have 2, then it will have 3, then it, and since it is n, meaning it is 0 to 4, the 4 will always be excluded here, remember. So for I, for this loop I will have these 4 values 0, 1, 2 and 3, and this loop will execute 4 times. So if you can see here, I has the value 0, 1, 2 and 3. So each time 0, 1, 2 and 3 will be, each time the loop will be executed, first time 0 will be printed, then next time 1, then and so on till 3. Okay, similarly we saw that when the first time the loop runs, it prints the value 0, and the second time it runs, it prints the value 1, and the third time the loop runs, it prints the 2, and when the fourth time the loop runs, it will print 3. Suppose if we write I into 2, so this will print the value of I multiplied by 2. Similarly, you can also have this power. Let's see what does this do. It will print the squares. Okay. Okay, now let's see a simple example of a list. How we can iterate it using, how we can use for loop to iterate over a list. See, lstpf name our list as lst, and we create a list. We have hello, and we have a next element as suppose Python. Hello, next we can say it world, let's suppose. Okay, so this is our list. Now we will use for loop to traverse in a list. We write a keyword for. We take a iterable variable as suppose index. in range. So this range will have, the loop should run that number of times, the number of times what is the length basically. So this loop should run only that number of time, like what is the length, basically the length of a list is 3 here. So our loop should also run 3 times to make those elements printed to us. So we'll write here, and we yesterday we discussed that to find the length of any list we use length function, and we write here list. Okay, and if we write here print, okay. So if you see this code, we define a list here which has 3 elements: hello, Python, and world. Now we use a for loop where for is a keyword, index is an iterable variable, in is again a keyword, a range is a function which has the value length of a list. Like here we'll see what all values we will have for an index. Index will have values as length of a list is 3. So for a 3, if we have any function, suppose as range 3, this will have values starting from 0 and then keep increasing by 1, and we will exclude 3. So 0 when increased by 1 is 1, and when increased by 1 is 2. So, and when 2 is increased by 1 is 3, which is again we have to exclude 3, since in the range function we cannot include this. So index will have value 0, 1 and 2, and this loop will run 3 times and should print the elements. So yes, it prints the elements of a list which are hello, Python, and world. Now let's see how if we use else statement in with the for loop, what happens. If we define, let's see if we take this list. Okay, so if we take this list, we have already defined the for loop. Now if we define the else part here, let's see, if we write here print in else loop. Okay, let's see what is this. Okay, so it gives the output same as the above, but also it prints the in else block statement. So if we use else statement with for loop in Python, we can also like see that if in Python, if you have an else statement with a for loop, this else statement will always be executed. When this for loop will finish, will not like finish its number of times of turns to execute, this else part will be executed, and hence this else part will always be executed in the for loop. Whereas in the while loop we saw that it will not be executed every time, and in for loop it will always be executed. Now we'll see loops inside a loops. Loops inside a loops is basically called nested loops. Let's write yes. Nested loops. Nested loops are loops inside a loops. Loops inside loop inside a loop. So a loop inside a loop is known as nested loop. Okay. So Python programming language allows you to use one loop inside another loop, which is also called a nested loop. Now we'll see a nested loop syntax. First we'll see for a for loop, and then we'll see for a while loop. We have keyword for, we have a iterable variable, if you have any sequence, let's say sq, and then if we have if we have to have another loop inside this loop, we'll write for iterable variable 1, let's say, sequence 1. And if we have some statements inside here, let's say, now we will have some statements inside the first loops as well. So this keeps going on, and this is the basic syntax for a for loop. For a nested for loop, let's see a small block of code to see it's working. Let's say if we have for I in range 1, 5, and for j in range I, let's suppose say, print I. Okay, we print here this. Okay, let's see what does this code do. Okay, so here we have a keyword for I is an iterable variable, in is again a keyword, range is a function which is going to take a value 1, 2, 3, 4. As I said, 5 will not be included. Similarly, we have another loop inside this which has the iterable variable as j and which has a range I. So let's see here. So for the value of I, when I has, okay, so when I has the value 1, j will have the value range 1. So j will have the value as 1 only. And when I is equal to 2, j will have the value range 2. Range 2 means 1. Range 2 means 2. 1 comma 2. So it will, j will have, similarly when we will have the value of I to be 3, we will have j value as 1 comma 2. And in this way, this code will be executed, and this is a simple example of a nested loop. Okay, now we will have some overview of the loop control statements. Loop control statements are basically they change the execution from their normal sequence. So when execution leaves the scope, all arithmetic objects that were created in that scope are destroyed, and the Python supports the following control statements. The control statements are continue statement, pass statement, and break statement. We'll see one by one each of these statements. First we'll see control statement. Continue statement. Okay. The continue statements in Python returns the control to the beginning of the loop. Or what does the continue statement do? The continue statement in Python returns the control to the beginning of the loop. Let's see let's see an example. If we create a loop here for I in, let's say hello, and we define a condition here. Let's say, so if I is equal to h, or means any of the condition if satisfied, the if part will be executed. Or I is equal to O, let's see. And then, okay, colon is missing. Yeah. And if we write here continue, print current letter. Print the current letter. Okay. Our letter was stored in variable I. Okay. Let's see what does this code do. Okay. So as said, here the continue statement has passed the execution again back to the beginning of the loop. Now we'll see another loop control statement, that is break statement. The break statement in Python brings control out of the loop. Means the execution will be like the cursor or where the compiler was running the line, or that line of code was executed. As soon as it receives the keyword break, it will be out of the loop. So the break statement in Python brings control out of the loop. Let's see it with an example. If we take the above example and we write break in place of control, let's see what does the output gives. Okay, we will write a break. Okay, so it has brought the execution out of the loop, and hence nothing was printed. Since there was nothing out of the for loop, suppose if we write here print break statement executed. Yeah, so here we have we see that we saw that the break statement, as soon as it receives the break statement, the execution is out of the loop, and the print statement that we define after it, that break statement executed, is now printed. Now let's see the last control statement of the loops, that is pass. We use pass statement in Python to write empty loops. Pass is also used for empty control statements, functions, and classes. So pass statement has the very basic principle of writing an empty loops. Let's see it with this example. The same example. Okay, we'll write another piece of code now. Okay, if we write here for I in, let's say hello. And if we write a pass, parent, let's say I. Okay, let's say what does this print. Okay, so here what does this do is there is a word hello which has the letters H, E, L, and O. For each time the pass statement is executed, the loop is executed. And at last, when the I value becomes O and it is out of index, like there is nothing out of following O, then I carries the value O, and now this print I, now I is the value and this O is executed. This shows that pass statement has been executed properly. So this was the basic understanding of loops, how we use loops to create a particular statements that we can execute n number of times according to our needs and conditions of the code. Now we'll see some of the more like functionings and multi-dimensional list that we can create in Python. So earlier in the last session we saw that how we can create a list. Okay, so suppose if we have any list which has, let's say we have a list A and has the value 10 comma 20 comma 30 comma 40 comma 50. Okay, so it has, suppose it has this value. Now if you want to update, let's say if you want to update any value in a list, what we do? Update any value in a list. Let's say we will simply write at what index we want to change. Suppose we want to change at index 1, that means we want to change the second value of our list. And if you say we want to have it value as 25, let's say, and we'll see, and we'll have a print statement just to see that the value is updated or not. Yeah, so the value is updated, and in the when we have defined our list, it carries the value 20 at the index 1, and now when we have updated its value to 25, the updated list is now printed. As we can see that the list as zero based indexing, meaning this is at index 0, this is at index 1, this is at index 2, 30 is at index 3, no, 30 is at index 2, 40 is at index 3, and 50 is at index 4. So to keep to like change the value of a second element of a list, we has had an index 1. Suppose if you want to remove any element from a list, okay, as I told you earlier, just to make your code more readable and more easy to understand, you should always have a comments. So I will write to remove an element from a list. Okay. Yeah. So we'll write what is the name of a list? Our list name is A. We write A dot remove A dot remove 30. If we write this, and we write print A. Let's see the element is removed or not. Yeah, so element which was 30 is now removed since we have removed the element 30 here. Also remember guys that it always removes the first occurrence, like in a list when this 30 was first appear will only be deleted using the remove function. The other appearances of 30 will not be deleted. So to remove an element from a list, we can have three. One I have defined here for a remove. Similarly, we can have a pop function and a delete function. Let's see how both of these work. We'll see first as one. Let's write here using remove function. Okay. Now here we'll use using pop function. So let's suppose if we a pop value equal to e dot pop. Okay, e dot pop. Let's see. So this statement, what does this statement does? So it a dot pop here means from the list A, remove the element which is at index 1. Inside the in the remove function, what does we do? We exactly give the parameter as a value that we want to remove. But here in the pop function, we give the parameter as an index. Like the index is an given as a parameter to remove a particular value. So at index 1, whatever is the value, please remove that value. And we will store rest of the, and then we will the rest of this list will be stored as a only. So if we write here print the value pop well, and similarly if we print a, let's say, so at index 1 we have 25, it should be removed, and the rest of the element that should be left in a list are 10, 40 and 50. Yeah, the same is printed. The first index value, which was 25, is now removed, and rest of the uh, list is printed. Similarly, now we will see how we can use a delete function to remove a element. Okay, so if we write del is a keyword again. Okay, so if we print a. Okay, so this statement del is a keyword here, and it will remove the 0th index value from a list. So at 0 we have 10 should be removed, and the rest of the elements should be printed, which are 40 and 50. Let's see. Yeah, the element 10 is now deleted, and 40 and 50 are only left inside a list. Now let's see how we can iterate over list. I have already told you to iterate over a list, we can use for loop. Let's see, we have a list A. So let's say hello. Python. We have world A. Let's say yes. So we have defined a list. We have defined our list to be containing the values hello, Python, and world. And just to get each of these values from of a list, we will say for I in A, print I. So the for loop will be executed for the number of times the length of the list. So here the list length is 3, and hence this loop will be executed 3 times, each time printing the value of a list. So from now we'll see the sorting in a list. Sorting is a fundamental operation in programming, allowing you to arrange data in a specified order. Sorting is basically used to make your list data which contains the numerical values either in ascending order or descending order. By default, always remember it is always in ascending order, meaning it will always sort the values from smaller to larger values. Let's see if we have a we will see how the sorting is done in list. So we have a list here. Suppose k is equal to, we have some values. Let's say if we write a dot sort, and if we write print a. Okay, so it has arranged our elements from smaller values to bigger values. Okay, if you want to have like a list which has the values from descent, like from larger values to a smaller value, we will see a code snippet for it now. If we have, suppose if we have a list, let's say we have a is equal to 5 comma 2 comma, let's say 9, let's say 1 comma 5 comma 6. Okay, so if we have this array here, we want to arrange this in descending order. What we'll write, let's say sort an array that is a modified array that will contain the descending order of the above list. Let's see is equal to sorted a comma reverse is equal to true. Okay, now print here print here list in order sort. Yeah. Let's see what does this print. Okay, so here our list is printed from larger to smaller values. So this basically what it does, it sorts the array A. Now this sorting will be by default done in ascending order, and this reverse is equal to true part will now reverse that list, and you will get a descending order list now. So now we'll see how we can merge two lists. So Python provides several approaches to merge two lists. In this we'll see some of the part how we can merge any of the two lists. Let's say first we'll write here. If we have an array, let's say is equal to, let's say 1 comma 2 comma 3. Okay. And if another array is b is equal to 4 comma 5 comma 6. Okay, and if we want to merge it, let's see if you want to merge it and have a new array, I suppose, which is given a name c. So we'll simply write a plus b, and we'll write print c. Okay, let's see, does this do that? Okay, so what does this is being done here? The first element have the same index as it was before, but the second array which was added has now been added after the first element array. Sorry, first list values 1, 2, and 3, and then 4, 5, 6 have been concatenated with it. Let's see if we change it to b plus it, does this affects anything? Yeah. So whichever list is taken to be first, that those elements will always be taken first, and then rest of the elements of the other list will be taken. Okay, so next is how we can, if we have any integer list, then how we can have the sum of those elements. Okay, So here we have a is equal to, let's suppose we have 10 comma 20 comma 30 comma 40. Okay. And if you want to store that value, that whatever value we get after adding all the elements, let's take it to this. Then it is some. Okay, suppose. And if you want to print that a, you want to print that value, suppose this. Let's see. So the first we'll do it manually only. Then we'll see that 10 plus 20 is 30. 30 plus 30 is 60. 60 plus 40 is 100. Let's see. Yes, so this function has basically added all the elements of an list A and gives us the output as it. So now we will see the way how we can remove the how we can remove the duplicate values from a list. Removing the duplicate values of a list. If we have a list, suppose that A, and we define the elements as 1 comma 2 comma 3 comma 4 comma 4 comma 5. Let's see. And if you want to remove the duplicates from it, we'll write A is equal to list A. Then we'll see print, then we'll have the list printed again to see whether the duplicate values have been removed or not. Yes. So this A will first be converted to set, and then these values will be removed and will again be converted to a list, and this list is now being modified and again stored back to its original name, that is A. And now when we see that A is printed, has no duplicate values found. So let's see, like if you want to search an element, then how we can do it. And let's see, if we take any list as, like we take a list of animal. Okay, let's see, we have cat, dog, and let's see if we have a lion. Okay, we define a list of animals which have the values cat, dog, and lion. And if you want to search, if you want to have the if you want to search for a given element, then how we can do it? We'll write print select animal dot index. Want to search, let's say we want to search for a dog. What does this do? So okay, it's saying that animal dot index, meaning the dog is found in a list animal and is at the position 1, meaning its index is 1. Similarly, if you want to know, let's say we'll print this first of all so that it is executed. Okay, if you write a print animal dot index, if you say for tiger, let's suppose, what does this give? Okay, so tiger is not in list. It's saying that animal dot index, which is a function to find if there is any element such found, then it will return the index. Since tiger is not there in the list, it has resulted in an error. Okay. Now we'll see how we can swap two numbers in a list. How we can swap two numbers in a list, yes. If we have, suppose, an array, suppose is, again we will take that same array 10 comma 20 comma 20 30 40 comma 50. Okay, suppose we have 5 elements and we have stored it in the list A. To just like just to have those swapping of numbers, we will use the concept of multiple assignment. What is basically the concept of multiple assignment is, suppose you want to swap the numbers which are at index 0 and which are at index 4. So at index 0 we have 10, at index 4 we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 50. Okay, so we want to swap those numbers, meaning we want that 10 should be go at last and 50 should come at the first place. So for that we can write a 0 comma a 4 is equal to a 4 a 0. Okay, and now we'll print a just to see whether the numbers are swapped or not. Okay, so I forgot to put an equal to sign here. Okay, so we have seen that in the second statement we can see a with the value which has at index 0 will now be assigned the value which has at index 4. The value which was at index 4 will now be assigned the value which is at index 0. Similarly, 10 and 50 will be swapped, and this could be seen from the output that the values have been swapped. Now we look to a very new concept, that is multi-dimensional list. We'll see multi-dimensional list. Sorry, list. Wait, I'm going to this. Okay. Okay. Uh, so multi-dimensional list is represented using a nested list. So a nested list is a list within another list, which is useful for representing matrices or tables. So we'll see how we can create multi-dimensional list. Let's see, we have given this multi-dimensional list name as matrix, and we have a list. So a list inside a list is basically a nested list, which is used for representing multi-dimensional list. Let's see, 1, comma 2, comma 3. Okay, and we'll write 4, comma 5, comma 6, 7, comma 8, comma 9. Okay, and let's print this. So we'll see how this is printed. Okay, so this is basically, it has basically printed all the elements. Now if you want to access an element which is at row 2 and is at column 3, so basically your row is this entire, which is containing 1, 2 and 3, and your column is which is containing values 1, 4 and 7. So column 1 is containing value 1, 4 and 7, and your row 1 is containing value 1, 2 and 3. Suppose that if you want to see which element is there at a row 2 and column 3, will write print matrix 1 index. Remember, the list follow the zero based indexing. So to look a element at row 2, you have should have an index 1 for row, and for looking the element at column 3, you should have an index 2. The first index defines the row and the second index defines the column. Let's see. So the element which has at row 2 and column 3 is 6. We'll see some of the methods for a multidimensional array. So suppose first function that we'll see is append. Okay, we'll have this multi-line comments first. Yeah. We saw in the last session that we can use append function to insert an element inside the list. Append function adds an element at the end of the list. Remember, append will always insert a value inside the list at the very last index. Okay, let's see. If we have this array, and if we append matrix dot append 10 comma 11 comma 12, let's see, and we again print this matrix just to see whether the elements are inserted or not. Okay, so the elements are inserted at the end of our list. We can also use an extend function. This extend function will also add an element at the end of a list. Let's see. Okay, so we just write extend in place of append. As these values are already available, we'll try 13 comma 14 comma 15. Let's see. Okay. So 13 comma 14 comma 15 are added. Why did this not give the bracket? Okay, so see the basic difference that these 10 comma 12 comma 10 comma 11 comma 12 is inside the list, whereas using the extend function they are not inside the list. 13 comma 14 comma 15 are not inside the list, and they are taken as an individual elements inside the list. So the basic difference between extend function and a append function is that append function, whatever list you will give, it will always be taken as a list. This 10 comma 11 comma 12 are taken as a list. It's a full list. Whereas if we give it inside the list in extend function, then extend function will take it as an individual element inside the list and will separately give the indices to them. Now we'll see how we can reverse a list, multidimensional list. We can reverse a multidimensional list using reverse function. Suppose if we have this, and if we write okay, so this has reverse the uh, whole list. We can also do one thing here, that we can write matrix. If we write, we just want to reverse the first element of a multi-dimensional list. When we look at it, we can put of index 0 here. Let's see what does this do. Okay, so the very first element, that is 1 comma 2 comma 3, is only reversed, and hence this become 3 comma 2 comma 1, and hence all the elements are at their initial positions only. So this was all about the list. Now we will move on to the strings. Strings. So strings in Python is basically, string is a sequence of characters. Python treats anything inside a quotes as a string. This can include letters, numbers, or ring symbols. Python has no character data type, so single character is a string of length 1. Remember that Python has no character data type, and hence a single character is a string of length 1. Let's see if we have one string as hello, which has the name variable name as s and holds the value hello. Let's see if you print s. So hello is being printed. There are various methods of creating a list. Strings can either be created using a single quote or when anything which is enclosed inside a single quote or a double quote is treated as a string for a Python. Let's see if you have a string s1. Let's say okay. And if we have s2, now we will include this inside a double bracket. Let's say okay. Okay. You want to print both of this. If it should print both options, anything which is inside a single quote or a double quote is treated as a string for the Python. Okay, let's see. Okay, so it has printed both of the strings. So accessing any characters in Python strings is basically done using indexing. Strings in Python are sequence of characters, so we can access individual characters using indexing. Strings are indexed starting from 0 and -1 from the end. So there are two ways to access characters. Either we can use the from the starting, or we can use the indexes from the last. From the index last, we have -1 as the first element, and from the last, we can have the 0 as the first element. Let's see. If we have a string variable name as s, we have its value is hello. And if we want to access the let's see, if we want to access the first element. We'll write print s at the end. For the first element, the index is always 0. We'll write this. We want to access the last element. For the last we have -1. Let's see what does this give. So the first element in hello is H and the last element in hello is O, and it has been printed. Now we'll see slicing. Slicing in string. Slicing is basically to select a specified range of characters. See how we can do it in strings in Python. So slicing is a way to extract portion of a string by specifying the start and the end indexes. Let's see a basic syntax of how we can do it. Whatever is the name of the string, let's say it's str for now, and its beginning index is, let's say, student as start, and then we followed by a colon, and then the end is taken to be as the last index of that specified portion of a string. Okay, so this is basically a simple index to select a portion of a string. Let's take an example. If we have a variable s which is storing a string as hello, and you want to, let's say, let print, and we have s. Okay, if you want to print it from, let's say, 1 to, let's say, 3. Let's see what does this print. So okay, so here basically 0 1 3 will not be included as an index to be printed, only 1 comma 2. So the value, so the string or the character at index 1 comma 2 will only be printed. Here in the hello word, we have only E and L at the position 1 comma 2, and hence E and L are printed. Let's see some more examples for slicing here. If we write print s, let's say 1, no, it will be very short, we'll write it as 3. Let's see what does this print. Okay, so this line of code will print everything from starting till the index 2, since we cannot include index 3. Let's see one more example. Print s, let's see what does this do. Okay, so the last statement which you have written right now has reversed the string. So when you write double colon comma minus as an index value for the string, this will reverse the string. So some basic points about the string is that string in Python are immutable. This means that they cannot be changed after they are created. If we need to manipulate strings, then we can use methods like concatenation, slicing, or formatting to create new strings based on the original. Let's see if we want to change any character, what type of error or what type of exceptions we get from the compile. Let's see if we have an s is equal to hello. Okay. And if we see that s, first character we want to change it to y. Okay. We want to print s. Let's see what does this get. Okay, type str object does not support item assignment. It's saying that the str object or the string does not support any of the changes in the string itself. For doing so, you need to concatenate, format, or have some other manipulations. Let's see how we can do it then. Let's say if we want to change the value of h to y, how we can do it. We'll write s is equal to, we want y as it, so we'll write y here. Then we'll have a plus sign here, then we'll write s. Okay, then now we'll print s just to see what is now stored in s. Okay, so here this is basically like like a perfect strategy to to manipulate a character inside a string, since this type of functions or the block of code is not being accepted in the compiler. Now we'll see with the how we can like delete any part of the string. Since string is immutable, you cannot delete any part or any individual character from a string since they are immutable. However, you can delete an entire string variable using a del keyword. Deleting a string, as I told you that you cannot delete any part or any character of a string, you have to delete an entire string. Let's see how we can do so. Let's see if we have an s is equal to and we write a del s, and then we'll print s just to see is there anything stored inside s or not. So okay, name s is not defined. That means anything which was inside s is now been deleted and the del s statement has been executed properly. So as we've seen in the previous code that to change any part of the string we can use this method, but now we can also use another type of function, that is replace, to change any part of the string. Let's see if we have an string s which has, let's suppose, value hello world. Okay, if we have a second string as s1, we want to make letter h to be capital here, then we okay, and then we have this. Okay, okay, now we have s2 as the other list, that is s comma replace function, and we'll replace world with, let's say, students. And then we print s1 and s2. Okay, so this s which has the value as hello world, the s1 now adds the small h, replace small h is now being replaced with capital H, which is easily seen here. In s2, what does this function do? Replace will change the word world to students in the string s, and it has been seen that hello world is now become hello students. So for S1, the original index is sliced from the index 1 to the end of the string and then concatenate to create a new string S1. For S2, we can create a new string S2 and use replace method to replace world with students. We'll see some of the common string methods now. So Python libraries provide various built-in methods to manipulate strings. Some of the functions we will have now. Number one is len function. So the len function is basically gives the there's no more. Okay, this okay. So the len function returns the total number of characters in a string. Let's see if we have s is equal to say here, and if we write print len s. So exactly the hello world contains 5 character, and this print statement also prints the same. Now we'll see the other function, that is upper. This upper function will like convert all the characters to uppercase. Let's see if we have s is equal to hello. What does the upper function do? So this the upper function has converted all the characters to uppercase. Now we'll see the third function, that is lower. We will print s dot lower. Now let's keep all of this as capital S. It has converted all the characters to lowercase. Okay. Now we'll see another function, that is strip. Sorry, this is not capitalized. We'll see the fourth function as strip. So the strip removes leading and trailing white spaces from a list. Let's see if s is equal to, we have two spaces and let hello two spaces again. Fill it print s comma s dot strip. So this strip function should remove the leading and the trailing white spaces. Yeah, the let's see print the simple s here. What output we get? Okay, so for the first one, the white spaces have been printed and the hello is being printed to a little right side, whereas when we have used the strip function, the white spaces in the leading and in the trailing spaces have been removed. We will now see the function which is replace. What does the replace function do? We'll have two things as a parameter here. Common name. So the replace old comma new replaces all occurrence of a specified substrings with another. Let's see how this is done. Suppose if we take a string s and we write Python is fun. Okay. Then we write print s comma replace old with new. You have to write the old one as first. So we want to replace one with, let's say, Python is popular. Okay. Let's see what does this do. Okay, we have to include this inside a string. Okay. Okay, so Python is fun is now changed to Python is popular. Okay, so strings, we will now see concatenation and repetition of strings. We can concatenate strings using plus operator, and we can repeat them using asterisk operator or multiple operator. So we will see how we can use this. Let's see, we have two strings s1 equal to, say, hello, and s2 equal to world. Okay, suppose we want to concatenate and store it in the list string s3. We'll write s3 is equals to s1 plus s2, and then we want to print s3. Let's see what does this do. Okay, so basically what it has been done here, that the spaces have not been inserted between hello and world. Since concatenation, meaning as soon as the first last character of the first string is ended, after it only there will be no space left, and the first character of a second string will now be placed. So we'll write concatenation. Okay, just to insert the spaces, we'll write now. See, yeah, the space has now been inserted. Now we'll see. Now we'll have the repetition. Repetition for strings. Suppose we have string s is equal to hello. We'll have Python. Python. Okay. And if you want, if you say, if we print s star 3, so this will print hello, sorry, Python 3 times. Since there is no space, you can have the space here. So okay, so this Python has now been duplicated 3 times. How we can see that it's particular particular string, combination of characters or a particular character is there in the string or not, using n. Using n for membership testing. The in keyword checks if a particular substring is present inside a string or not. Suppose this S is hello world. Okay, let's see print HEL in S, or you want to, let's see what is this here. So true. So HEL is all is there in the string. Let's say if we print OW, OW is not there in the string. Since we can see that O and W are there inside the string, but since they're separated by a space, and here we don't have a space. If we have a space here, let's see what does this give. Yeah, we're seeing that O space W is there in S. So this basically in is basically used for checking that particular substring is present inside a string or not. Now we will have a look on the tuples. Okay. So in Python, tuple is a collection of objects separated by commas. A tuple is similar to a Python list in terms of indexing, nested objects, and repetition. But the main difference between the Python tuple is that it is immutable, whereas the Python list is mutable. Let's write these basic characteristics of tuples. So tuples is a collection of objects separated by commas. Collection of objects separated by commas. Okay. Tuple has a similar functions or a similar functioning as same as of Python list in terms of indexing, but tuple is immutable. Remember, Python lists are mutable, whereas tuples are immutable, strings are immutable. In case of Python strings, we remember that the a part of a string cannot be deleted or be changed, but the whole string can only be deleted. Similarly, is in the case of tuples, a part of it cannot be changed or removed or updated, but the whole tuple can be removed or can be modified. Remember that when we create a list in Python, we use square brackets, but in case of tuples, we use round brackets. Creating tuples in Python. Okay, so we can create tuples in Python. Let's see, we have a tuple named T equal to which has the value 10, 20, 30. Okay, yes. If you print T, let's see what does this gives. Okay, so it gives that tuple T has values 10, 20, and 30. Let's see what is the type of this T. Okay, so this T belongs to a class of tuple. Okay, so let's see some of the things about tuples. So tuples are ordered, and we can access this element and can access the elements using index values. Using index values. We'll remember we cannot update any item inside a tuple once it is created. We cannot update any item inside a list, so inside a tuple, once it's created. Okay. Also, you cannot remove any item from a tuple once it's created. Okay, so these are some of the basic things you should know about tuple. Now we'll see how we can access elements inside a tuple. How we can access the elements inside a tuple. That's it. So in Python, tuples provide two ways in which we can access the elements of a tuple, either using positive index or either using negative index. First, we'll see for a positive index. Let's see, we have a tuple 10, 20, 30. Okay. We want to print the value. Print t, the 0th position. Print t at the second position. Tuples are also zero-based index. Tuples also follow zero-based indexing. Hence, the first element will be stored at the index 1, second element at the index 1, and so on. Let's now print this. Okay, so it has printed the respective values. Now we'll see how we can use negative indexing to access the value. We'll have a similar tuple. 10 is equals to 10, 20, 20, 30. So if we write print using negative index, we should always remember that the very last element has the index -1, the second last element has the index as -2, and this so on. So we'll print here t -1. We'll print t as -2. Okay, and similarly we write print t -3. This has printed the elements in a reverse order. Let's see how we can traverse items in a Python tuples. So this was about how we can access values inside a tuple. We can do it by two methods, either by positive index, which will be from the beginning to the end, while as if you use the negative index method, you will get elements in the reverse order, that means from the end to the beginning. Now we will have a traverse. For traversal inside a tuple, we'll have first a tuple. Let's say we have a simple tuple as 10 comma 20. Sorry, 10 comma 20 comma 30. Okay. So this is the tuple. If you want to traverse inside a tuple, we'll use the for loop here. For anything, suppose for I in t, let's say print I and is equal to, so this end with a space between the double quotes will have the spaces between the elements values of I, let's say. Okay, so this has printed the values of a tuple separated via space. Basically, and is equal to double quotes with a space is used to have a space between the different values of I here. Now we'll see how we can concatenate two tuples. For concatenating two tuples, we'll use the plus operator here. Let's see if we have a tuple 1 as t1, which has the value 10 comma 20 comma 30. Okay, and we have the second tuple as t2, which is equal to Python and world. Let's see. Okay, and we want the like concatenated tuple to be stored in t3. Let's say t3 then becomes t3 equals to t1 plus t2. Then we'll print this t2 t3, sorry. Okay, so these two the tuples have been merged and 10 followed by a new tuple which is 10 comma 20 comma 30 comma python comma world. Okay, what does this do if we change the order here? Okay, t2 first followed by a t1. So okay, the elements of t2 are now first added and followed by elements of t1. Similarly, uh, a tuple inside a tuple is known as nested tuple. We'll learn about the nested tuple here. Nested tuple is basically tuple inside a tuple. Okay, let's see. So if we have t1 as t1 is a tuple, let's say 10 comma 20 comma 33. If we have a second tuple t2 as python comma world. Okay, then we want to have t1 inside t2, right? And want to store it in other tuple. Let's say it's t3 is equal to t1 comma t2. Let's say, and then we'll print t3. let's see what is this. Okay, so this is a tuple which has uh, a tuple inside a tuple. This whole tuple has first element as 10 comma 20 comma 30 and a second element as python comma world. Let's see if we change the order here. So the elements of T2 are first added. Now the first element is python comma world and the second element as a new tuple which is contains the element 10 comma 20 comma 30. Okay, now we'll see how we can repeat the tuples. We can create a tuple of multiple same elements from a single element in that tuple using the below code. Let's see if t is equals to python. And if we have another tuple, let's say t1, which is equal to t star 3. Okay, let's see if we print t1. Okay, so this has printed python 3 times. Let's have space here for better. And this will probably print python 3 times. So now we'll see how we can do slicing in tuples. So what does this just given any output to us? Let's write this star with 3 here, 1 from here. Okay, let's see. Okay, so that was a mistake. We cannot do it that way. So T is basically a tuple in which the Python has been repeated 3 times. In this way, you can have the repetition inside a tuple. Let's see what we can do. How we can do slicing in tuple. So slicing in a Python tuple means dividing a tuple into small tuples using indexing method. Okay, so slicing in tuples is basically a means of dividing a tuple into small tuples using the indexing method. We'll see a code here. If we have a tuple p, let's say has values 10, 20, 30, 40. Okay, and we need to have the slicing here. A similar type of slicing will be done as we have done in case of strings and list. We'll have the tuple t and we have the indexes defined. One, this. Let's see what does this prints. Okay, so this will basically print every elements from the index 1 to the last. Let's see what does the next piece of a print statement does for us. T. As if you people remember, then in this case we have seen that this statement will basically has done the reverse process, like it has reversed either a string or a list. Let's see what does this do in case of a tuple. So basically in case of tuple also it's reversing the tuple. We'll see a new one, that is print t. We'll have the indexes defined from, let's see, 2 to 4. Okay. Okay, so 2 to 4 basically means that from the index 2 till the index 3, because 4 is always been excluded here. To add the 2 we have 3 and at the index 3 we have 40. So 13, 40 will be printed here. Now we'll see how we can perform a deletion task in tuple. As you know that since The tuples are immutable, hence you cannot delete any part of the tuple, you need to delete an entire tuple. So to delete an entire tuple, how you can do it? Let's see. Let's see, we have a tuple 10 comma 20 comma 30 and we want to delete this tuple. We'll write simply using del keyword, we'll do it. This we'll write simply del keyword and we'll write del t since t is the name of a tuple. Now we'll see, we'll print t just to see that is there anything else stored inside t or not. If it has been deleted successfully, there will be an error uh, as an output, and if it not be deleted, the tuple will be printed. Okay, so it's saying that an error has been executed, which is name error, and it's saying that name t is not defined. Since you have deleted the t, so there is nothing inside a t. The memory address is now being empty. It's okay. So uh, to find the length of a tuple, we'll use the length function, and how to do it, we'll see it here. T is equals to, let's say we have tuple python world. Let's say we have a tuple t. Want to print, let's see, want to print length. Print length t. Okay, let's see, it should give two elements are stored inside t. Let's see if we do this. Okay, so it's this 6 has now been saying that there are five, there are 6 letters inside a there are 6 letters inside a first element of a tuple. Now we'll see another piece of code, how we can deal with multiple data types with tuple. So we can use a tuple which has like a different types of data set, different types of data types. Tuples in Python are heterogeneous in nature. This means that tuples support multiple elements with multiple data types. We will see how we can make it. Okay, so tuples support, we'll have an exclamation mark here. Yes, tuples. Shit. Tuples support multiple elements with multiple data types. Okay, and this is basically the heterogeneous nature of a tuple. Okay, let's see. Let's see if we have a tuple t which has 3 elements. Let's say we have Python, and then we have a boolean value, let's say true. We'll leave this. And if we have an integer 23, let's see. So this is our tuple T, which has multiple data with multiple data types. Python is basically a string data type. True is basically a boolean data type, and 23 is an integer data type. Let's add one more value, that is float. Let's say 3.5. Okay. So here now if you print this T, let's see what does this give. Okay. So now this has printed our tuple. Also we can like also you can convert a list to a tuple. How we can do it? Let's see the conversion of a list to a tuple. So since we can do it we can convert a list in Python to a tuple by using tuple constructor and passing the list as its parameter. The same will write here. We can convert a list in Python to a tuple by using the tuple constructor. Sorry. Tuple constructor. Constructor and passing the list as its parameter. Okay, let's see how we can do it. Let's see if we run tuple A. Yes. So if we have a list A, let's see it's 1, 2. Okay. And we wanted to convert it to a tuple. Let's see if we name the tuple as T, then we'll use the constructor tuple here. And we'll now pass the parameter as the list. List is A. And then now we'll print A, and then we'll print T. Okay, so since A was a list, the list has been printed, and now this A is now changed to a tuple using a tuple constructor and passing the list as a parameter to it. We got the A converted to a tuple T, and this list is now being converted to a tuple. This is a basic way of converting any list to a tuple. Now we'll see how the loops are used inside a tuple. So since we saw that like whatever values you want inside a tuple, they can be separated by commas inside round braces, but there is another way using a loop by which you can create a tuple. Let's see. Loop. Let's see, suppose we have a tuple T which has like a value, let's say Python, let's say pyt. Okay, and it's separated by comma. Okay, yeah. So, and if you have an n variable, let's say n equal to 5, and if you have a loop here for and an iterable variable, let's say I, in range let's say int n. Okay, we have t is equal to, this will show how we can create tuple inside a tuple. Okay, and we let print t here. Okay, so basically what this piece of code is doing, we have initial have a tuple t which contains the string pyt, and now we have another variable n which has the initial value of 5. For I in range of int n, matlab, for I in range of n, like I will have the values from 0 to 4, like means this loop will run 4 times, and it will modify the tuple t, and will have this tuple will be inside another new tuple, and this tuple will be printed each time. Okay, so this, as you can see, for the very first time this was printed. Then next time when the loop was run, the another tuple was inserted. Then for the third time the another tuple was inserted. For the fourth time the another tuple was inserted, and the fifth time the another tuple was inserted. For the fun for basic understanding, I may let you know that I carries the value here as 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So these are the values of the I that will be processed every time, and the new tuple will be created. So in today's session we learned about the fundamentals of loops. We have in Python we have two loops. Basically we have the while loop and the for loop. While loop is a conditional loop. We use condition, and then if the condition is false, the loop will be the execution will be out of the loop. We can use else statement with the while. Also in the we learned about the for loop, and we saw several examples, and we also saw how we can use loops inside a loop. Then we saw some of the conditional statements inside the loops, as continue statement, break statement, and pass statement, and similarly we saw some of the examples over it. We also came back to the list, and we saw several functions of the list, how we can modify and update the list. Since lists are mutable, remember in Python that lists are always mutable. We also saw how we can create the multi-dimensional list, which can be used to represent matrices and tables in Python. We saw several methods of multi-dimensional arrays. Then we had an overview and a deeper understanding of what is strings and Python, how we can use them, how we can like perform various tasks over it. Remember, strings in Python are immutable. They cannot be changed, or any part of it cannot be changed or cannot be deleted. You always have to modify the entire string, or you have to delete the entire string. We saw some of the common string methods that we can use. We saw the concatenation of string. We saw how we can repeat a particular string, how we can see that whether a particular element is there inside a string, or like a particular substring is inside a string or not. Then we came to a tuples, and we got to know that tuple is a collection of objects separated by commas, which are enclosed inside the round braces. We saw how tuples are created, how we can access the elements. It can be done using two methods, positive indexing and negative indexing. We also traverse inside a tuple using for loop. We got to know how we can concatenate two tuples using plus operator. We saw how we can create a tuple inside a tuple, that is known as nested tuple. Then we see how we can see a repetition inside a tuple, or we can repeat a particular tuple. Then we saw the slicing in tuples. Then we got to know that a particular part of a tuple or a value cannot be deleted. Like a whole tuple is every time deleted. We saw how we can know the total number of elements inside a tuple. Also, we got to know that tuples can contain various elements with multiple data types. Then we saw how we can convert a list to a tuple using a tuple constructor passing a list as a parameter to it. Then we saw how we can have like a tuples inside a tuple using for loops. This was all about today. We'll meet in the next session and we'll discuss about the few things. I hope you guys got to know that things, and we'll meet in the next session.